Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Jason.
With me today is life coach and LOA teacher Joel Elston.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Happy Monday there, Joel. How you doing? You have a good Monday? I mean, I always ask you that before the show, but I figured I'd ask during the show this time. Like,
Monday, as you know, is my favorite day of the week.
It is.
It is usually full of plot twists and chaos and excitement. And today was pretty much just very calm, very nothing too outrageous. Now, as I always say, it's Monday. We're taping on Monday at 7:00. We still have 5 hours left in the day, so anything can happen.
So the other shoe is kind of dangling, is what
it could be there, but at this point in the day, usually multiple things have totally gone crazy, and I've had to deal with those. So none of that happened today. Very positive day. Had a great day in the gym, and why we're sort of emphasizing Monday is the expectation of Monday affects a lot of people, some people differently.
Isn't that something?
And yes.
It really is. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I get it, especially if you work a 9 to 5.
Yes.
That's where people really get wrapped up on, oh God, it's another Monday. If you're not working a regular 9 to 5, that goes away fairly quickly. But when you are working one, well, when you're working for yourself, it isn't Monday that becomes a problem. It initially becomes the entire week that's the problem. And so you're working on changing things around so you don't experience that anymore. But once you get to a point where you're achieving some success, then all the days are good. There's really no such thing as a bad day. So right. I think it's because of the fact that people work a 9 to 5 in jobs they don't really like all that much.
Well, that's it. And, people have what they call the Sunday scaries, where they're worried about the next day on Sunday night. And Mondays have, sort of a negative connotation to them because of what you're saying. And also just sort of the narrative of Mondays is sort of bad. It's like Friday the 13th has a narrative that it's bad. Wow. And in my life, Mondays have transformed because back when I was in the middle of the most chaotic time of my life, I was working for my father in the insurance agency.
Right.
And had a lot of chaos going on. And Monday mornings were literally the worst. I couldn't sleep on Sunday night. I was scared to death of Monday mornings. I had so many things going on. I had bookies that wanted to kill me. I had money stolen from my dad's company he didn't know about. I had chaos.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, that would probably also ruin Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Right. But at least Saturday and Sunday was like a break for me because I didn't risk getting caught at any of this stuff. And Mondays is when everything hit at once. So this true story. So I had a Monday morning where I got there at 8:30. The lady, the receptionist, came in and said, "There's a gentleman here to see you." And this is first thing in the morning, and on a Monday, and I'm like, "What?" And he says he must see you. So I go into my lobby, and it's a bookie that I owe $5,000 to. He said, "I'm here to collect the money." And I said, "Well, you're going to have a really bad day because I don't have a penny. I gambled it away." At that time, the young lady I was dating at the time comes in and says, "I got to see you immediately. I think I'm pregnant." So, okay.
So, well, you had quite a day.
Yeah. And then my dad comes in and he says, I found this file, and if he would have really looked at the file, all the money I was hiding that I was stealing from the company, which was about $1 million at that point, was there. So that happened on a Monday right there.
That's one heck of a Monday.
Yeah. And so while that one may be the most intense Monday, by the way, the young lady wasn't pregnant. Thank goodness for that. The bookie, I just said, "I'm having such a bad day. Please just kill me. It would be easier for you to kill me." I don't want to.
I laugh now, but it wasn't funny then.
Yeah, no. But I literally told him that though. It was that bad. And so for a few years, Sunday nights were terrible, and I dreaded Monday. So I had subconsciously stored that I hated Mondays, and then it had a lot of reason to believe I hated Mondays. Then eventually everything fell apart. I wasn't working for my dad anymore. My life fell apart, and the narrative of Mondays was there really wasn't a reason to hate them, but it was pre-programmed for me to hate them. Even when I got another job, I had jobs that didn't work. It wasn't a traditional job, but something about Mondays was a narrative.
So you understand, the people who have the thing about Mondays, you get where they come from because you
I
were there.
completely do. Yeah. And so, but how I reprogrammed is, as I got into the law of attraction and I would hear myself talk about me hating Mondays and the expectations of Monday and all of that. So I started analyzing that and go, what do I hate about Mondays now? And it's just the start of the week. And I do love my job and I love what I do. I have a great opportunity. I'm in life. I'm financially secure. Mondays represent, I look forward to Monday. Monday has become my favorite day of the week. The reason is Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I do calls and some virtual appointments on Saturday and Sundays, but Monday gets me back into the normal rhythm, the groove. I can't get things solved on Sunday usually, but I get things solved, court cases with clients or things I have to call. And Monday gives me the opportunity. So I call Monday action day. It's the first day of the week that Sunday's the first day of the week, but Monday is the first day that most things are actionable for me. And so I look forward to that. And it's a great way to start the day. I feel good. So I have programmed my brain to love Mondays, and Mondays have started loving me. And so I look at it that way. Even, my job and career, I have so much chaos, so much stuff coming on. It isn't that I don't have the chaos. I know I can handle it. I know I'm good at what I do. And Mondays just bring that opportunity for me to do that. It doesn't carry the same weight that it used to carry.
Which means that at the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, depending on how you want to look at it, at the end of the day, what really matters is how we're thinking about it rather than what we're experiencing on it. I mean, I'm kind of contradicting because on the one hand, you just described how you had this really, really nasty Monday, particularly one really, really bad Monday, and then a series of not really good Mondays after that. So it is something that in your case did come first, but in order to make the change, you had to shift the mindset despite that experience. That's really where the challenge is.
For most people, that's where the challenge is. Most people are going to a job they don't like or they believe they don't like. And they hear everybody else talk. Oh, it's Monday. The TV sitcoms talk about Monday. The idea that you sit around, oh, the weekend's over, and so we pre-program in our brain that Mondays just are inherently bad. Fridays are great. They're exciting. They're the last day of the work week for many people. And, again, these are pre-programmed things, but like you said, one of my posts today on Instagram was which is my post frequently, your perspective creates your reality. So your perspective of Monday, when it's negative, it has no choice but to meet the reality that your perspective is seeing. But when you start really looking at Monday's exciting new opportunities, this is the start of a work week, then your perspective shifts and Mondays will deliver the expectation or create the reality of being exciting and going forward.
So knowing that we can change our mindset and actually get traction out of that, in other words, get a change of experience coming out of that, is, I think, probably one of the most powerful things we can learn, because just by a comparison, as you know, I do 2 shows on Monday. The first show earlier today, we had a guest on, a woman who went through some really difficult times as a young woman and ended up turning her life around, the typical kind of story that we often have here on the show. And in the process of going through all of that, she basically found herself, without any pre-planning, having the ability to accept what I would call spiritual downloads that say, take this step, take that step. And every step was perfect. It was like she was following a law of attraction self-help book, without even knowing what law of attraction was, without having the book. She was getting the downloads. She was following it perfectly, and I've always admired people who could do stuff like that. The thing was, I could never consistently get the downloads. So what I'm liking about our conversation this evening is you don't even have to have the downloads. What we're talking about here has nothing to do with getting downloads. It has to do with, here's just basic, simple changes that you can make in your actions, in your thought process. To screw the downloads, you can still make the progress. You can still get the changes going on.
The to me, and this isn't being dramatic, I believe the most powerful statement and the most powerful understanding in life is, again, your perspective creates your reality. That's statement one. Your perspective is completely in your control, no one else's. By default, you are in control of your reality. That's the most powerful statement in the universe, in my opinion. You are a creator of reality. So when you create your own reality, you're in charge of what that looks like, and the universe responds. It's just as you and I tried, we worked really hard for years to make the law of attraction complicated, Walt. We worked hard.
We have a long history of that.
Yeah, we went deep and hard and way out left field. We did vision boards and nothing wrong with that, but you understand.
Yeah. We were trying everything. We were still trying to figure it out. I mean, I think you'd figured it out a little bit more than I had, but you were like 3 feet ahead. That was about it. It's not like either one of us had it really figured.
The problem is, it's just so simple. It's just so it's incredibly simple, and we can't accept that it's simple because it gives us a perception of being. Again, perception is it's hard, so that becomes our reality. Yeah. So when you understand that, and then anything takes place, whether it's Mondays are metaphorical to just life in general. What you perceive, what's your perspective, how you see it, is you're going to be a reality. If we went to see a movie, here's a great example. When years ago, I went to see with a date. And this is a long time ago, in the theaters. It ages me. The Blues Brothers in the theaters.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yep. I was in high school, and we went to see the Blues Brothers. Now, I'm on a date with this girl I do not particularly want to be on a date with.
No, dear.
Yeah. I realized about 15 minutes into the car ride, this is not going to be a good
Not going to work. This isn't going to go well.
Yeah. So my perspective of that night, we grabbed a bite to eat at a little burger joint. Then we went to the movies, and my mindset was, how quick can this movie get over, and let's get out of here. And so I sat through the movie with the idea of how quick can I get her home, and oh, this is terrible. And the Blues Brothers, I thought, people asked me how the movie was. I go, it was ungodly bad. It was just the stupidest thing you've ever seen. So,
one of the most popular movies of all time.
Yeah. Well, years later, I forget where I saw it, but it's somebody, maybe it was on VHS. Again, we're going way back in time. So they said, "What are you watching?" I asked him what he's watching. He goes, "Blues Brothers." Oh my God! Why would you watch that movie? And he goes, "Well, it's one of the top 5 funniest movies of all time." And I said, "And this is somebody." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And it's the worst movie of all time. And so I started watching the Blues Brothers. I'm going, "Oh my God, this is brilliant! It's hilarious! It's in fact, I mean, I memorized the line. It's 106 miles to Chicago. We have a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, and it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses." And then Elwood goes, "Hit it." That I remember the line. I had it memorized. So that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can pop that at any time. But my perception was based on that date that night, and I really thought that was the crappiest movie of all time.
And that's really poignant, because no matter how good something might be, if our mindset is bad, it's going to come off as bad. And the flip side is also true. Absolutely. No matter how bad something is, if our mindset is good, it's going to be good.
Yes.
And later on, we could look at it and say, why on earth did I like that? But at the time, if the mindset was really, really good, it seemed good.
Oh, yeah. And it goes all directions, and your perception of Mondays, your perception of holidays. So one of the things that I work on with the holidays coming up, so we're a few weeks away from Thanksgiving, which seems absurd that we're already here.
Yeah, right. What happened to 2025, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different show about the speed of time. But so what I have to work on for me is holidays are usually very difficult for many of my clients. So I have a preconceived idea that my client, this doesn't really affect them as much as my perception of what I got to do during this time.
Yeah.
So I have to say, you know, and no matter what, I always handle it. On Thanksgiving, I have dinner. We have a very nice tradition with our local friends here. Christmas, we may stay locally or we may go to Florida. So my personal holidays are fine, but my clients are, there's always family strife. You know, inevitably, Thanksgiving has this really funny thing that happens. So when kids leave for college, they left in August. We got a
Right.
bunch of them. Their first trip back home is usually Thanksgiving.
Usually Thanksgiving, right?
So inevitably, what's going to happen, I'll tell you ahead of time. Now they've been away. They haven't had mommy and daddy there. They've been partying. They've been living the life they want to live. Now they're going to come back home, and mom or dad are going to have high school expectations.
Right.
And they're going to have college expectations.
Right.
And we're going to have some really rough times in those two worlds trying to coincide, because mom and dad are not going to tolerate college behavior in their house.
Which is odd, because mom and dad probably went to college, but nevertheless.
Yeah. But which is absolutely true. But it's an inevitable struggle that comes up every year. Now, whether any of that happens or not, I don't know. But every year for the last, I don't know, 15 years, that has been at least one or two of those cases. So I'm anticipating that. If I had it my way, I don't want time to go any faster. But one of the best things on Thanksgiving, I like when Thanksgiving's over.
Yeah.
It's like, not because I'm not thankful. I don't have one day of Thanksgiving. Every day I'm grateful.
Right.
But I love when it's over, because that allows me, mentally say, okay, we can get back to normal. Then we have about 3 weeks of normal, 4 weeks of normal. And then we get hit with a basic similar scenario with Christmas. And Christmas often has a little different spin on it. Christmas is about expectations. People think Christmas should be a certain way. You should be getting certain gifts. Christmas very seldom matches expectations, which create disappointment and usually arguments and frustration. And I'm so happy again when Christmas is over. And then New Year's, everybody's going to get drunk. And then hopefully we'll be able to get right into the new year and then get back to normal. That's how I look at
it. Well, it makes sense. I mean, given what happens with your clientele, I can see why those would not necessarily be your happiest days of the year. I get that.
Yeah, as far as work goes. Now, my personal holidays are great. Always have fun, and I want to enjoy that again this year. But what we're talking about is, it isn't really Monday. It's your perspective of Monday, or your perspective of holidays, or your perspective of your job. When you literally have programmed your brain to hate your job, you're going to hate your job, and your job will give you a lot of reasons why to hate it.
Isn't it odd too how we don't really realize that we are programming ourselves in that manner? Because we are. I mean, anybody who's not just with jobs, anybody who is focusing on any negative circumstance and replaying it over and over and talking about it with their friends and complaining about it in the morning and having a cup of coffee over, and that's the kind of thing that people do with something like a job they don't like, right?
Yes.
They're constantly hammering on it. They're going to end up programming their brain where, it's a very consistent pattern where that thing is concerned, whether it's a job or anything else. But isn't it odd we don't really recognize that unless somebody else points it out to us? To us, it just seems normal.
Yes. But you have the herd mentality at work or in groups where, people discuss everything that's wrong. It's like, well, this company does this, they do this, and then that becomes the narrative of that job. Most people at most point, during the early part of your life, for sure, as an adult, you're going to have to work. I don't know. I mean, that you got to make money. You got to survive.
The way life works. Yeah.
And so you either get to go with it with a perspective of, this is crappy and I don't like it, or hey, this is serving its purpose right now. It's that's what I work with people, sort of that mindset coaching. The job is necessary right now. You got bills due, you have this happening, you have that happening. The job is necessary right now. We're going to keep looking, and we're going to polish our skills. We're going to get experience. We're going to keep looking for new things, new opportunities. But the job is necessary. Your decision to hate it, or at least look at it with it's okay, but that's in your control. And that makes a big difference.
So, I mean, it does make a big difference, and yet we don't know that for some reason. Like we're not. There's something about our programming that doesn't allow us or doesn't encourage us. I'm not sure which it is, but it doesn't fill in the blank. It doesn't blank us to recognize what's happening, what we're doing. It's always something that somebody else has to point out to us, either someone that we know. If we're talking to a therapist, the therapist points it out. If we're reading a self-help book, the self-help book's it out. We hear a motivational speaker, the speaker points it out. Something like that has to happen before we realize, like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I have that ability. And that's really mind-boggling to me. Why is it that we're so unable to, and it's not just with this too, it's with almost anything that's a challenge in our lives. We're the last ones to see what's going on. Anybody else can spy it except for us.
Here's a perfect example. I was speaking to this lady today, first time speaking with her, and I was getting to know her. She is, I think she said 53. She's very smart. She's been in real estate. She's been in many things, but she's just not satisfied with life.
Okay.
Job being, money and the other stuff. So one of the things we were talking about is there is one of the, I don't want to get into too much detail of this because it's complicated to explain, but one of the things that's taking place in the medical world, there's a thing called peptides. Yes. And these peptides do everything to help you lose weight. They can increase your muscle mass. They're becoming very popular. Yeah. So they're legal, need to be prescribed by a doctor, and they're really good in the anti-aging world, the weight loss world, and
spoiler alert, your body produces them.
Your body produces the peptides, yeah. So it's a wonderful. I do believe peptides are the future of medicine. I really do. It's amplifying your body's production of the same thing, and it's a brilliant idea. So, we're discussing that concept, and then she, because she's trying to figure out what to do with her life, and she said, "Yeah, I have a friend. He's a medical doctor. He's retired. He's been encouraging me to open up an online, shop where he can prescribe, and then we'll fulfill the orders. There's several models out there of that." And I go, "Are you kidding me? You have the hardest part of this is getting a medical doctor. You have the hardest part." And so I'm explaining, I get really excited. I said, "Well, this is really easy," and blah, 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 explain how to do it. And, she goes, yeah. And she does know all the peptides. We were talking about the different peptides and what they do. And she's really smart. She's not medical. But halfway through once she was getting excited about it, she goes, "Oh, but I have ADHD and I'm terrible in business things."
Now, this is somebody who already is successful in real estate and other fields.
Yes. And I said, "What part of the last 5 minutes does it fit? What statement?" We're talking about, this is a brilliant idea. If she were to implement this idea, I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar idea. It's
absolutely,
still ground floor. The hardest part, I would open one tomorrow if I had a medical doctor that would do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is a brilliant idea. It is easy to. It's just it's so easy, but yet she immediately found something to throw in front of her that's going to shut down that direction. I said, "Well, first of all," her point was she is bad at setting up businesses. I said, "Well, number one, we could start with ChatGPT, explain everything to ChatGPT, and we'll get an outline of the things we have to do. And it is very efficient. I use it all the time for business development. And that's where we start. You will need eventually a office manager to handle the detailed stuff, as I would need in that situation. I won't handle the detailed stuff, but you have the hardest piece. The easiest pieces are but yet you're putting, as soon as you came up with an idea, she put a roadblock up to stop the idea. How many times we do that? Because our perspective with the programming stops us just short of instead of just going. It's like, so we developed a 5-step plan tonight. You text the doctor who's asked her to do this, say, "I'm in," and we're going to start with that. We're going to start with the ChatGPT business plan she's going to share with me. We're going to go through that. We're going to look at, she doesn't even need office space. This can all be done from her home.
Absolutely.
We got 4 compounding pharmacies She's in Sarasota, Florida. 4
Oh my
compounding
God.
pharmacies.
To me, that was the harder part. She's got the source material. I mean,
Right
that's
there.
crazy.
The compounding pharmacies are desperate for this business, so that they're going to compete for this. And she's probably in the best state, to do this in, with the aging population in Florida. I mean,
Oh my
but
God, yes.
she'll be nationwide.
Yeah.
But
She'll
I
be
mean,
worldwide.
just in Florida, my gosh, I mean, the what 80-year-olds are everywhere. It's just Florida, and it's inactive 80-year-olds who are looking for anti-aging concepts. So, but I found it interesting that of everything, she was super excited, and immediately, by default, threw out a roadblock that I'm terrible at setting up businesses.
So let's go back to the question that I raised. How is it that we're the last ones who know about it? And the obvious question in this case is, well, why is it that she's the last one to know about it?
Yes.
Do we have any idea about that? What do you have any sense of why that is?
It's the same answer I give pretty much for everything. It is the pre-programmed stuff in our brain. It is by default. That's the self-sabotage of life. That's it is there why we all want success. We all want, but there's a side of us that is programmed to either think we're not worthy of success, or that there's a narrative that we can't have success. So the subconscious brain throws something out there that we don't even know why. She didn't know it. She didn't even realize it. We were on the way to business deal planning. I'm ready to roll for her. We can get this done in 3 weeks in my mind. And I got really bad ADHD. It's like, did you hear yourself?
So what we can actually conclude here, I think, is it's probably safe to assume that all of us have some level of that kind of programming going on.
Absolutely.
And because of that fact, I think it's pretty safe to assume we have programming that leads us to create our own blocks in our lives. Well, I think even though we don't necessarily recognize that on our own first, we can certainly hear from you and me talking about this, that this does happen. And as listeners, we can say, okay, then I must have it too. Maybe I should take some steps to reprogram my mind so I can be more open when an opportunity like this one comes along.
Yes.
And even as I'm saying that, you know what I'm hearing in my head? Even as I'm saying that, I'm saying to myself, yeah, but when's that going to come up? That's a 1 in a million. Yeah, I'm already placing a block.
But exactly, that's why my concept of a bias toward action. Just I'm always, what is the next step? What before the brain can do that? Step 1, I got the doctor, I got that. Step 2. So the moment that the roadblock gets there, it's easier to identify when you break it down into your steps. So I get immediately into step making. I want to do that because it filters out like that. If I'm writing everything we're talking about and I'm getting lost, and then this random statement of sabotage comes up, it sticks out like bad code in programming. It's like
true. And the big advantage to the action step, I think, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with this, is that when you are taking the actual step, it distracts you from listening to the subconscious mind.
Complete. That's why the Mel Robbins book, The 5-Second Rule, is built on that concept. The action itself, instant action, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, instant action doesn't give the subconscious brain a chance to do these routines that stop us from going.
And it's not like they won't fire. They'll try to fire anyway.
They'll try to fire, but
that's going to happen.
But imagine, so here's what happens, break it to the average person. They're laying in bed. It's a Monday morning and rainy and cold and damp. Time just changed. You're lying in bed. You want to go to the gym.
Yeah, I can just hear you just came up with 5 reasons not to do it.
Absolutely. Right off the bat. I just named all these reasons. And so you'll lay there, and then your brain will start saying, yeah, I'll start it tomorrow. I'll do it. Versus you bypass that by saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is her strategy. Get up and go. Launch. Just take off. Go. I don't give it time. And so when you're anything like that, that's why I encourage a very fast process where I want to get to the action steps, because I'm more focused on the action than any sabotage that my brain can come up with.
And this actually fits in nicely with your philosophy that the ADHD, because you mentioned she had ADHD,
Yes,
and you are also ADHD. You've mentioned before that ADHD is your superpower,
absolutely.
as not just as a different way to think about it, but I'm realizing that it's also a way to take the action step. Because
Yes,
when you're ADHD, just taking an action step alone is a way of taking advantage of the fact that ADHD is about focus.
yes.
You're highly focused. So as soon as you take that first step, that focus is carrying you through. That ADHD is becoming really powerful for you because you took that first step.
Yeah, that's where you use it to your advantage. ADHD, you've heard me say this before, is not, it's misnamed in my opinion.
Mm,
It is not a deficit of attention at
right.
all. The problem is it's an abundance of attention, and
Yeah.
it's where are you placing it? That's
Yeah. I always thought the term was created by somebody who they created because they didn't want you doing what you're doing.
right.
They want you to do something else. And so they
Yeah,
said, well, we got to call it a deficit.
yeah. My ADHD has an abundance of focus. It's just,
Mm,
if you ask me to read a book of literature from some, I don't even can't even say it without getting bored, just something like that. There's zero chance I'm going to read that. Could care
mm,
less. No focus
mm.
there. But if you want me to do a new book about neuroscience and manifestation and quantum theory all combined, I'm going to be staying up all night reading that because that's my thing.
And for me, I don't really, I've never been diagnosed ADHD, and I suspect I probably wouldn't be diagnosed ADHD, but I don't need to have the ADHD in order to get the benefit out of it.
No, no,
Because now it took me years to figure out how to do this, but once
yeah,
I figured it out, and a lot of it came from our conversations early in the show, but what I figured out is you needed the passion. If you
yes.
have a passion, you're gonna have the same advantage of the ADHD person, because the passion is going to get you to take that first step, and then the second and the third and the fourth, because you're passionate about it.
And then that's how this works. So yeah, that's why I've always been this action oriented law of attraction guy.
Mm,
The idea that I'll hear these. I watch TikTok a lot because there's a lot of young people with their version of the law of attraction, and
mhm.
this one guy saying, "No action is needed. You'll sit on your couch. You'll get an abundance
Really? You
as
had
long as
somebody
you
saying
believe."
that?
Yeah,
Wow.
he literally said that, and I have done this a long time, and I feel I've used the law of attraction to a great benefit of my life. I have never sat on the couch and manifested anything. Everything that I manifested was attached to action.
I've manifested a lot on the couch. I just didn't want any of it.
But well, that's great point. I'll actually get on board with that. Anything I manifested the couch was never what I wanted.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, because I really believe that if I were able to maintain pure focus just sitting on a couch and just do that continuously, yeah, I could track anything. I can't do that. I
I
don't know
can't.
anyone who can maintain pure focus. We are so easily distracted by all kinds of stuff.
But action to me is focus. So when I say
Yeah.
I'm a bias toward action, I also that includes a bias toward focus.
Hmm.
And so that's where I find that. So that's where it works best for me. So
Mm.
finding, I like to use the word passion because passion leads to focus, which leads to action, and
Yeah.
all those things. And I like to stress the system. If I want to get something done, I want to implement it. I want to stress the system, see where it's broken, and then fix it. I don't like to be the guy that plans and plans and plans. I want to go implement, and the flaws will be exposed, and I want to fix those quickly.
Hmm. Yep. Now, I do have a tendency that's a relatively, well, I was about to say it's relatively new, but I'm not so sure. Maybe it's been around for quite some time. Maybe it was masked previously by the fact that I was a planner, and we know about what that was all about.
Yes.
But even now that I'm not much of a planner, I think this old tendency still plays out, and it is a bit of a challenge for me, in that, like right now, I have a passion with AI. I think I've told you about that. I know I've
Yes.
told listeners about that, and I have a couple of projects I'm working on. Large chunks of my day get spent working on this, to the point where it will chew up pretty much my entire day. Unless, if there's something else that I have to do, with the gardening business or the house cleaning business or something else in my life, I'll go do it. But I'm always trying to get right back to the project because
Right.
I'm just passionate about it. I'm really, really interested in it. Here's the tricky part. With the nature of what I'm doing with AI requires a lot of repetitive trial and error. And by that I mean you try something and it breaks. You try something else and it breaks. You fix that and it breaks. You fix something else and it breaks. And you're constantly on this pattern. And what can happen is, even though this is a passion of mine, I can reach a point where during the day where I'm exhausted because I'm just so tired of break, 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 break. It just keeps breaking, 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 breaking. I keep looking for that breakthrough, and the breakthrough doesn't happen that day or the next day or the next day because I'm just doing fix break, fix break, fix break, fix break. That's a problem for me. And I haven't found a great way around that. Now, what I do try to remember to do, and it does help me, is okay, take a break from the breaks, take a break from the project, go take a walk, go to a dance class, go get outside, go to do brunch with friends on a Sunday, go do things like that to break things up. And when I do that, that helps a lot.
It does.
What I haven't found yet is how can I break the pattern of the breaks while I'm actually focused on it?
Yeah. You'll have to keep working on that.
Yeah. Well, if I have a breakthrough, I'll let you know on how to do that.
But I
haven't gotten there yet.
No, but it's when but your belief in that pattern is supporting the pattern as well.
Which is what annoys the crap out of me.
Yes.
How do I shift that?
Yes.
I mean, before we were talking about, well, we're the last person to know about something, but you and I have been exploring this long enough, and I've been doing the show long enough that I recognize I have all these things that we talk about. I have experienced all of these symptoms and so forth.
Sure.
So, okay, I've got that going on, but now that I know that there's this thing going on, how do I shift it? That could be a real challenge. Now, it's not like I never succeed. I do sometimes succeed in making the shift.
Right.
For whatever reason, I don't succeed as often as I would like to. For some reason, I get hung up on that a lot more often than I want to. And I've tried a lot of different techniques. And some things have worked better than others. I mean, trying to be mindful during the day, paying attention, checking in on myself every hour or so. How you doing? How you feeling right now? When I do that, that could be effective. But here's the thing. Sometimes I'm so focused, I forget to even do that.
Well,
so again, here's something. I have a tool and I don't seem to use the tool.
The most of the time, and this, it sounds like you've tried this in varying degrees, but taking the intentional break, and then knowing the brain chemistry when you have focused too long.
Right.
So you need to basically wash your brain. So whether that's usually some level of physical output, it could be meditation, but get totally away, not just a little bit away. And go to a dance class, go pick up your laundry or whatever you got to go do, deal with, get out, get away. So I have I've discovered this. So I have a morning routine, and some are great things, some are silly things. I do a word puzzle, Wordle, every day.
Oh, me too. I love those.
Yeah. And then another one they have is called Connections.
Right.
And Connections is basically matching. There's, 4 sets of 4 words, and they have some weird connections. And Wordle, I always get. I never don't get Wordle. I like it, but I always get it. Mm-hmm. But Connections, sometimes I get really stuck, really stuck. Like, especially if they sort of try to trick you with stuff, and I'm convinced these 2 words have to go together. And so I have found that I need to just, when I get stuck, I got to put it down. Totally. I leave it alone. Some days don't even get back to it, but when I'm shocked at later in the day, if I have a minute and I get back to it, I almost instantly solve it. Every time. Yeah. Every time. So I would suggest forced breaks and getting away from the concept, the brain, getting
walking away. Yep.
Yeah, walk away. And then when you revisit, when you're stuck in the death spiral of over focus, you're not thinking clearly, and you're not going to solve your problem.
That's right. And that is the nature of the problem right there, because the repetitive experience of trial, fix, that gets pretty deeply ingrained in the nervous system. It's just, and that's the nature of programming, because what I'm doing is programming.
Yes. And then, but when you allow sort of in my mind, allow a different perspective, you can't force a different perspective in a deep focus. You got to get away. And then a new environment gives you a different perspective. Like, The other day, I was trying to figure out, I had this complicated thing going on with my schedule. And I was like, I can't do this. So I went to the gym, I had my workout, and then afterwards, I'd get in my car ready to go meet my buddy for lunch. And instantly the schedule solved itself in my brain. I wasn't even thinking, but it's like the answer just like, okay, I was released from the hyper focus that kept me stuck, and the answer just flowed. It was shockingly easy, to be honest with
you. If we wanted to explain that from the perspective of how law of attraction and spiritual energy works, what basically happened is you removed a block.
Remove the block. Yeah, it's all.
You didn't actually go pick up a block and move it out of the way.
No,
but it's as if you did.
I did, and I did it sort of that metaphorical block moved, and it's that. But when you understand that there's a solution and answer to everything that we seek, we have those, we have those solution and answers in us. But the ability to see that, we as human beings once you start a pattern towards something, it's hard to unsee a pattern. And when when you're stuck on a belief that this is the right pattern, then you're never going to see something different. And then once you step back, I got to start all over again.
I'm realizing also, and I have been realizing this for the last few days, weeks, that particularly with this project, because the AI project is a programming project, it's software development. And in doing the project, like I said, you're constantly being fed a series of experiences where you try something, it breaks, you have to fix it, try something, it breaks, fix it, try it, breaks, fix it over and over and over and over again, which is very much programming you while you're doing the programming of the software. The biggest challenge with it and the most important piece to it is trying to find a way to remember what the real goal is, because you can get focused in on, well, the goal is to experience another error, which is not really what you want at all.
Right.
So it almost doesn't even matter how you get there. What matters is getting there, getting to the point where you're able to sit down after that break. You got away from it completely. You got it out of your system. You came back, and then finding a way to remember not that I'm going to do the next round of break it, fix it, but what's the ultimate goal I'm trying to get to?
Right.
What that look like, and not just what does it look like. This is the part where I struggle the most. What does it feel like to get there?
Yes.
Because when you can feel it, truly feel it, not just try and pretend to feel it, but really feel it, like you're feeling it as if it were happening at that moment, that's when you're actually pre-paving. That's when you're actually setting things up so that things do work out well. And then it becomes so much easier to deal with the break fixes.
If you want to cheat at like a maze, you're drawing it through a maze, you start at the end point, you go backwards. That's that's what you're sort of talking about doing.
Right.
You go toward the end point. What's it going to feel like? How's that going to be? And then you get there versus trying to go the other way. It's this very smart strategy. And like I said, if it were possible, I would always have a 10-year-old on staff to just ask questions to.
Yeah.
Because the 10-year-olds, I have solved more problems that, I have friends that I can consult with their kids, when they were little.
Right.
Like, 10-year-olds first of all, they don't accept there's not an answer. So right off the bat, they'll say something, you're like, oh yeah, you're right. It's amazing how they'll view it. Now, they might not even know what we're talking about, but their thinking pattern is not one filled with expectation of defeat or not working.
Precisely, yes.
It's just simply based on, oh, okay, well, that's easy. Let's figure that out,
Yeah. And perhaps that's actually part of the solution, trying to practice putting yourself into the mindset of being 10 again.
Yeah, which is the most fascinating part of the brain. Between, say, 6 and 10 years old, it is an amazing time for the brain to learn, study. It picks up on things. You develop new thoughts, new pathways, without the limitations that are going to come later. Without the belief that things can go wrong. Without the programming of everybody telling you what you can't do. When you're 10, anything's possible. Anything.
I'm realizing too, and we're people who have done this ourselves here on the show, very often, especially as we're older, we're looking for ways to remove those blocks, to remove resistance points. The 10-year-old doesn't think like that. The 10-year-old pays no attention to the resistance points at all.
They don't exist in the 10-year-old brain.
Right.
So there's nothing to pay attention to. It doesn't exist. It's just that all they have, see, the 10-year-old brain only can come up with solutions. It's like, oh, here's what I need to do. Okay, well, here's what we do then. And it can't perceive the programming that we have of what are my roadblocks, what stuff, because it hasn't been built in yet. Now wait till they're 14 and all the other stuff starts happening, puberty happens, all that. Now they're going to be the most ridiculous, they're not helpful at all.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you're not helpful at all, because they're negative and whiny and annoying. But at 10, all they know is that life is fun. It's exciting. There's answers out there, and you can do whatever you want to do. And I made it when I was going to talk the other day, and I asked the question. I said, "You remember when you were 10 years old and you believed that everything was possible, and then life taught you that it wasn't?" The 10-year-old was right the entire time. The programming that told that's the 10-year-old brain. So if you can make yourself think as a 10-year-old, you'd be shocked, because a 10-year-old can't say, "What is my block here?" because they don't believe in blocks. They're not there.
Right. Yeah. And because they don't believe in blocks, they don't experience blocks.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing, because what we're really doing is we're pointing to, I don't think we've totally focused the way I would ideally want to, but we're close. We're identifying what does it take to shift our minds back to that 10-year-old mindset where we don't have a pre-programming of all the reasons why something isn't going to work out.
Absolutely. And that's why, that particular, 6 to 10 group has, the brain is fantastic. It's pristine. It's expecting greatness. It doesn't have anything that says this can't be done. So the law of attraction responds so well to that it's like, well, wow, the law of attraction is just pure with those guys.
I'm reminded of my experience starting that alternative school that I helped to start. Actually, I started 2 of them, but I don't pay much attention to what happened with the second one, because that got undermined. But the first one that I helped to create, I'm proud of it. I love the way it turned out. And I'm remembering what happened the first semester, if you will. We didn't really have semesters, but the equivalent time period of a semester. The first semester that the school was open. And watching, because I was one of the staff members. Actually, I was the only staff member at that point. Watching how the kids were. Now, the kids were all 11 and up. So they were outside that 6 to 10 range. There was one young girl who was about 6 years old. So she was in that range. But even though they were out of that range, they were close enough to it that they still exhibited that 6 to 10 mindset that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Not as consistently, but they still did. And
Yes.
I remember vividly, there are a number of different incidents that happen, because there's always stuff that happens anytime people are involved. With kids, adults, doesn't matter. There were some somewhat traumatic incidents that happened. One in particular comes to my mind, and it illustrated for me a couple of things. First, it illustrated for me how these kids had all been in public schools. They'd already been indoctrinated into the way public schools do things, which is, by the way, all about finding all the things that are wrong with you and with society and everything else. So they had some of that, but they didn't have so much of it that they couldn't tap into their 6 to 10-year-old brain. They could do that fairly easily with a little push, and a little bit of not so much a push, but a little personal incentive built into their day, just because it was built into the day. So there's one incident I'm thinking about. They had roughhoused in one of the rooms that we used. They had it was a nursery, and they had broken one of the cribs, so they had to deal with that. And the way the school was organized, they had to deal with it. It wasn't something that they could kick up to the adults who were running the show, so that the adults wouldn't come up with the answer. They had to come up with the answer. And that's what was so fascinating, because initially their initial attempts were all about trying to get the adult to solve the problem for them. That was their way of, how do you handle the fact that there are these negatives in life? Because they knew that the negatives exist. They were teenagers, so they had some experience with negatives, but they were trying to get rid of the responsibility for them. So they did what kids do, right? Like, hey, they're used to it, right? In the public schools, if something goes wrong, you look at the adult fixes the whole thing, right? That's the way it works. Well, in this model, that's not the way it worked. The kids had to actually solve it. And it was fascinating to watch their brains. You could almost see their brains turning as they're trying to work through, how do you resolve this issue? Because I absolutely refused. I stuck to the model. I absolutely refused to solve it for them. The only thing that I was willing to do was to point out, if they chose a particular solution, where that solution might cause a problem for them. I was trying not to go too negative, but there was a certain degree of negativity I just had to deal with there. And it mainly came down to one very simple thing. If we didn't fix this, the building we were in, the people who ran and owned the building were going to kick us out. And so the school would end, which was the last thing that the kids wanted. So I didn't have to lay out a whole bunch of negativity. That was it. That was the whole thing right there.
That wasn't negative. That was the natural consequence.
Well, it was the most negative part. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It wasn't a positive outcome. That's right. That's what I mean. But even with that, because they had been trained in how public schools made them think, it took them a while to start getting into that creative 6 to 10-year-old mindset. But once they did, it was like a light switch flipped on.
Yep.
And I swear, we probably spent an hour with them trying to get me to move the needle and solve it for them. And once they finally realized I wasn't going to do that, once they finally gave into that and realized that they needed to come up with a solution, they came up with it in about 30 seconds.
Wow.
It was really quick. And you could see them. You know how you get this all the time because you have clients that you're working with. You can see the mind turning.
Oh, yeah.
You can practically see how they're working through it. You can kind of imagine, they're on this piece and then they're on that piece. You can almost follow that.
Yeah, though their faces give it away when you see them. They're like, oh my gosh,
yeah, and it's fun to watch.
It is.
But the other thing that's really great about it is it's an education, because it teaches you, here's how you get into that 6 to 10-year-old mindset.
Well, it is a possibility, where the adult mind always filters. No matter how hard you work on it, the initial response is, why won't this work? Because nothing, all this one, this is the average person. Well, if you tell somebody about an idea, well, here's the reason why that's not going to work. That's the adult brain saying, because here's the obstacles you'll see here. Here's what's going to happen. Where the 10-year-old brain, as we're saying, has none of that. So it gets shifted straight to, well, there's an answer, so I just got to find the answer. It's there's no effort wasted on the other processing.
There really isn't. No.
And if you could, even as an adult, I will often ask myself, what would a 10-year-old do here? I try to think like a 10-year-old thing. Well, if there were no roadblocks, what would that be? And, how would that look?
Does that help?
It does to me. Yeah, it helps a lot. And, because I just I've been around so many young people. One of the great things about my career, I have for years, I'm always around young people. So, you get to really know young people, and young people have evolved over the years. And I hear everybody talking how bad the young generation is. And I see it so differently. They're amazing.
Yeah, I don't see it that way at all.
Yeah. And, so you get to understand that and appreciate the way their brain functions, and being able to, I've asked a kid one time I will often ask a kid when they come to a conclusion that I'm impressed with, can you walk me through the process of what you did to get there? What did your brain do? Tell me, because
are they able to?
Oh yeah, they're really good at that. And so here's an example. So I like to give I'll give somebody a mental puzzle. Like, we're going to, here's an opportunity to go see whatever their favorite band or rap group, whatever it is. Say you get it. They're in Atlanta. You're 10 years old. You can't drive. Your parents said you can go, but they can't go with you. But you do need an adult. Tell me the step-by-step process that you're going to have to do to get to the concert. You already got the tickets. What do you do? And they just come up with the best answers quickly. Like, well, I'll check with my grandparents. I'll check with my cool aunt. She'll probably do it. My neighbor, Bob, he'll want to go. And they'll go through the checklist of who possibly could go with them. Then they go to Atlanta. How do you get to Atlanta? You can drive. Can we fly? They just walk through everything so simply.
Yeah.
And So what if there's no flights? Well, then we can drive. How long do you think, is that a hard drive? And, well, I don't know. We can look it up. GPS, all the answers are right there. There's never a moment of this can't be done.
I'm realizing also there's another piece to this that is really useful once you can start incorporating it, which is, we have a lot of programming, and that programming can get in the way. Fine. Okay. Leave that aside for the moment. To what degree are we able to get creative, to just come up with something and not judge it, not try to figure out whether it's good or bad, just come up with something?
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is, when you take the direct action-oriented approach to, okay, let's just create something. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to create something without judging what the result is, without coming down on whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Just try to create something. The more that you do that, the better you get at it. It's like anything else. You can program yourself to change any kind of thought process, including being creative. So what would happen if we made it a deliberate thing every single day to create something without any outcome attached to it? So because our tendency as adults is going to be, well, we got to create something that's practical, right? Or that produces money, or that leads to some sort of great result. No. Just create something. And then once you're creating one thing a day, how about creating multiple things in the day? And the reason I'm thinking about this, again, I'm going back to that AI project I work on, the software programming. One of the ways that I do keep myself going while doing that project is I remember that the AI is looking for me to be the creative person. Now, I do look to the AI. I try to encourage the AI to create as well. But I remember that the AI is looking, well, it's not hard to remember because the AI is constantly asking, well, do you want to do it this way? Do you want to do that? They're constantly asking questions to get me to create the next thing.
Right.
And when I do that consciously, when I consciously just let myself create something and not worry about whether it's actually going to fix whatever it is I'm trying to fix there, that's when I have the biggest leaps.
Yes.
That's when the best improvements happen, just because, and a lot of the things that I come up with are just bogus. I won't claim that everything that comes out of my head is all brilliant. It's not. Well, but the funny thing is, even the stuff that's bogus jumps me ahead.
Well, but that's where the law of action comes into play. So by coming up with something, bogus or not, it is a movement forward. And the fear of not coming up, well, I can't use that because it's bogus or that doesn't work. So you get stuck in that concept, but just what is an action I can take? I use that GPS scenario all the time when I explain it. Life is a GPS. It's the only thing you can do wrong is take no action. If you drive, the GPS will correct you. It'll get you there. The not doing anything is when the GPS has no value. It just sits there.
So the reminder is that just trying to create something, just letting something creative come out of you, and you don't even have to try it. It's not something that I have to try to create something right now. It's not that kind of an attitude. It's more like, what's the first thing that comes to my mind that I can just spout? That's creativity.
Yeah. Just it could be any category, but it could be the whole point of mentally taking action, moving forward, and creating, because the way the brain works, one thought leads to another thought. It's a cascading effect, and it goes on. It feeds off of itself when you're just stuck on one thing and it's not right and you're trying to force yourself through it. The cascading effect never operates. You don't get into that next thought thing versus allowing it open up, taking a break, creating something totally separate. Playing tic-tac-toe by yourself. I mean, it's anything sometimes that will just get that brain go. That we have this incredibly. We talk about AI and all AI can do. Our brain is so powerful and so
really
intense. I mean, and it is used properly or used. It don't have to be done properly. You just
doesn't have to be proper. No.
Yeah. It will get there. We live in a world where so much is just shaded to the negative and the reasons why. And when I ask people, why are you doing that? I hate my job. I want I want a new job. Well, what will a new job take? What actions would you have to do a new job? And they're like, well, I don't want to do those actions. I'll just do the job. But I hate it. I want to bitch about it and complain about it. And then the cycle just keeps going on and on.
That's right. Yeah. So then there's a piece that you touched on there that I wanted to kind of pull it out a little bit, make it clear. And it also played off of something I said earlier. The creative piece is not something that has to be dramatic. It's not something that has to be brilliant. It's literally nothing more than taking the action step, because I like the use of your words there, taking the action step of just coming up with whatever comes to mind and be willing to go with it no matter what it is.
Yes.
And that's creativity. So if you're somebody who is constantly thinking to themselves, well, I've never been a creative person. I don't really know how to create, all that kind of thing. Yes, you do. You actually do it every single day. You just aren't giving yourself credit for it. Everybody creates. If you have ever come up with any kind of thought that seems even slightly off the wall, you have created. That's what creation is. So perhaps the first thing to do is just simply allow ourselves to put out these wacky ideas and give ourselves credit for them, and say, you know what, that's a good thing. I came up with this really wacky thing. May never actually turn anything, but hey, I did it. I came up with a wacky creative thing there. And if I keep coming up with wacky creative things, guess what's going to happen? Some of them are going to be pretty good.
Well, one of the things I used to do when I did groups, and to spur conversations, it creates sort of the same pathway you're talking about. So I would have a group of people, these were usually 15, 16-year-olds. So, and, as long as it's not too far out there, I didn't really care what they came up with, but, I would start, making a statement, I'm on a train. The guy to the kid to the right of me he's going to say something. I'm on a train on the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And then the next guy goes, I'm on a train in Chattanooga, and we just keep doing the story over and over, and they can take it wherever they want to go.
Right.
That starts a mindset. That's a great way to start a discussion. First of all, it's fun. And, when you get to the 10th person trying to remember the whole thing, it's sort of funny too, and then eventually falls apart. But I don't do it for that. I do it for what that brings the mind to, that creative thought and of course, when you're asking 15-year-olds to do that, it's inevitably going to get inappropriate. I mean, that's
of course.
So most of the time we end up with some prostitute or something, but that's not the point. It's the idea of that processing, which opens them up to whatever discussion we're going to get into. That's how I started. Now their brain's primed for discussion and thinking and creativity.
By the way, I love the fact that it's a train.
Yes.
So that you're using the metaphor of a train to train.
Yes.
And that metaphor of using a train to train is itself training. You got trains going three ways. I don't know if you knew that. That's really cool.
I always start off with the train. So
yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be, one guy said, one of the funniest one ever, we're on a train. He goes, and it crashes and we all died.
Oh God.
I said, okay, well, let's keep going. And then we went to heaven. Then we did. But I'm like, okay, let's not try to kill us on the second one. But it's really, but again, the understanding, you're trying to get the brain to process the right way. It isn't about the task as much as your brain is your most powerful weapon forever in your life. But get it to break loose from the sort of that restrictive thinking, and anything like we're talking about being creative or whatever, the brain will find it. It's just when you're stuck in narrow thinking, it can't get out of that box.
I'm loving that game. The more I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking that's a game that adults should play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like regularly. With your partner or with people that you work with or whatever. I mean, we should do that regularly, because I can't think of a better way to get a person especially somebody who considers themselves to not be creative. I can't think of a better way to get them to be creative just by playing that game.
But the other night I was at a friend's house, and her kids were there, and her mom was there, and Justin was working, so he wasn't with us, but we were just talking, and I said, hey, you guys want to play a game? And we did that game. and it was and they didn't even know what we were doing. They had the bet. We were laughing. We played like 5 different rounds, and they were like, that's so fun, and everybody's really laughing hard, and everybody let their hair down, and they didn't get inappropriate, thank goodness, but it was just this fun, creative way to do it. But what it does is the energy in the room changed. It was all open, and so she texted me the next day and she said, the kids really told me that's like the most, they didn't play video games that night. It's like the most fun they have had in a while.
Wow. That is fantastic.
Yeah. And so I use that, and just for fun. I mean, it's something, it has a lot of therapeutic value, but also it's just it can get conversations going. You can loosen up the crowd. It can loosen up, the way the brain operates. And once you get the brain going in that direction, it's amazing what it can come up with.
Well, you know what? We can tie this back to the original topic pretty easily, pretty nicely. The original topic was Mondays and how people feel and respond to Mondays. And most people find, especially if they're working a 9-to-5 job they don't like, they don't like Mondays and they avoid them like the plague. What if you work a 9-to-5 job and on Monday, the first thing that you do when you encounter one of your co-employees, one of your coworkers at work, is you suggest, let's play the train game for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What would happen if we did that every Monday?
It's a distracting technique that allows you to enter Monday with it's a shift in perspective.
Yeah, complete shift.
One
fun.
One of the things that a lady I was in a relationship a long time ago used to like to do, and like we would be somewhere out to dinner, and she would like to pick a table and we tell a story about that table, those people.
Okay.
Yeah. Not, and it was never mean or anything. It was like, well, he's an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
They're on their second marriage. They have 3 kids. They have you're just creating a story, and it was always really fun. It was always positive. There was no negativity at all. But it was a
that's a variation on the train game, really.
It is. It's a variation of it. My belief system is if you get the brain going in the right direction with the right motivation, it'll do the rest on its own. So when you're stuck, if you did a version of your own train game, so to speak, that could be something that gets that right, using more train metaphor, right back on track or
right
off track.
Back on track. That's right. I love that. That is fantastic. Thank you for introducing the train game to me. I'd never heard that one before.
Okay. I thought, we've done that. I've done it for years, and it's a great icebreaker because especially when I get a new group of, you imagine having a group of 8 to 10, 15-year-olds. They're awkward. They're weird.
That would just be off the wall. That'd be incredible.
But once they get into it and they let their hair down, they're just, teenagers. The front they put on of being obnoxious and obtuse is it's a front. And once they break that and they realize everybody in the room, it's so to me, it's the way I open almost every group with young people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, have you tried doing it in groups with older adults?
I don't really do groups with older adults. So
yeah, I know that's not something that's normal for you.
Yeah. So I'm sure it would work. But usually, to be fair, most adult groups that I have done, the few I have done, they're wanting to be there and they're ready to process. So I mean, it would still probably help, but I use it with the kids to loosen it up so we can start talking. It's a great way to keep them from being silent because they get to know each other really quick in the train game.
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good way to wrap up the show. So I think we hit another one, a really good one today. Thank you very much.
Great show. Good to talk to you, my friend.
Yeah, good talking to you too. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.